Hi everybody, I'm Spike Brave, and I'm here today to look at the missile systems that are available to Inner Sphere BattleMechs in Mechwarrior Online. In my last video I covered the energy weapons that are available to the Inner Sphere BattleMechs, and today we'll be doing the missile systems. I've started this video out in the Mech Lab because there is something very important about the missile systems I'd like to show you on the BattleMech model itself. As you can see, I have a Battlemaster here, and he has all the LRM systems that are available to Inner Sphere BattleMechs, and LRM stands for Long Range Missile. And as you can see on his top shoulder mount, he's got an LRM 5. And if we look, there are 5 missile tubes in that system. Right underneath that, I have an LRM 10, and there are 10 missile tubes. Now, what's important to notice here is that on his arms, he has 15 missile tubes. One of these is an LRM 20. So what will happen is the LRM 20 will fire a flight of 15 missiles immediately followed by 5 missiles. This is something that some players are not aware of. So as you're equipping your missile systems, look how many tubes are being applied to the model. You may end up with multiple flights of missiles based on your missile system and the number of tubes that are available. I know there was at least one case in a trebuchet that they had a missile system with 1 tube. So people would put an LRM-20 in that and it would shoot 1 missile at a time. Not horribly effective for a long-range missile. I just wanted to make everybody aware of that because it's something that not a lot of people are necessarily aware of. So I wanted to talk about that briefly. Check your model. It's usually not a big deal if you're getting 2 flights, but it can cause some confusion, and if you don't understand why you're getting 2 flights, I can see why you'd be curious as to why that's happening. And as we go through showing you the LRMs in this mech, you'll see the LRM-20 will fire 2 flights. So that was been just a little talk about these missile tubes, so keep an eye on that. Just something to be aware of. If you're looking for a reason on that, that's actually something that comes from the tabletop game BattleTech. And in fact, one description that really comes to mind when I talk about this is the Atlas from the 3025 technical readout. It specifically states that its LRM-20 system was set up with 5 tubes that would fire 4 flights over 10 seconds. 10 seconds is the amount of time a BattleTech term takes to play out. So that is an LRM-20. It does fire 20 missiles in 10 seconds, but I believe that's why in some cases they have a smaller number of tubes available than for missiles. I've noticed with a lot of the newer mechs, you get a little box like this that has enough tubes to fire the missiles in 1 flight. So I don't know if it's something they're going to completely change eventually, or if they've decided to stick with it at times. I'm not 100% sure, but be aware as you're kitting out your mech that you can not necessarily have enough tubes to fire all your missiles. So we'll go out to the testing grounds and we'll take a look at Inner Sphere LRMs with an Artemis system attached. An Artemis system is an upgrade you can purchase for your battle mech. If you'd like to know more about that, check out my upgrades tutorial. I'll explain them all in a lot of detail there. But the Artemis system affects your missiles flights in the fact that they'll have a tighter group and a shorter time to lock on. And since we're out there, what we'll do is we'll talk about the targeting reticules real quick first. If you saw my laser weapon tutorial, I talked about it there too, but it does bear repeating if you haven't seen that, is you have 2 targeting reticules. I have that little circle, and that tells me where my arms are pointed, and then I have that plus, that tells me where my chest is pointed. So if I point down like this, you see my arms would be hitting at the ground where that circle is, so any weapons would go right there, and then where that plus is where my torso mounted weapons are pointed, and they would hit where that plus is. Now this isn't nearly as important for missile weapons because what they do is they always lock on your arm. I'll show you an example of that here once we get through showing you how the LRMs fire. So as you can see, I've got all 4 LRM systems, groups of 5 from 5 to 20
Artillery strike
at a time.
online.
I have an artillery strike on this mech, and that's ready to fire as well. So what we'll do is
We'll
target this commando, and what will happen is as I mouse over him, I'll get a circle around my targeting reticules, and then it'll also play a chime. The missiles are locked on when the chime completes. Usually the visual cue and the audio cue sync up. Sometimes they don't. So be aware, listen for the sound, don't look for the visual cue. So I'm going to aim at him and we'll see that happen. And in this case, I had a good sync. The sound and the visual cues seem to line up. So we'll start out here, and I have an LRM-5 ready to shoot, so we'll shoot that. And as we can see, flight of 5 missiles, and they hit him in the chest. Can't really aim missiles, it just fires to flight, and they home in on the target, and it's a little, I don't want to say necessarily random. If I was like at a more extreme angle to him, let's come over here, I'm probably going to get more stuff on this side of him. So we'll go ahead and shoot the LRM-10 now and see how that works. 10 missiles. Here's the fifth. This will be the LRM-20. So what you'll see here is I'll get a flight of 15 missiles and then 5. So that's how that works if you don't have enough tubes. And something to be aware of when you're doing this is the second you fire is when it starts to reload. If you are looking over there at my weapons bar, you'll see that there's that bar that's black right now. What it'll do is it'll fill up orange to indicate the reload time. It happens as soon as you fire. So if you're firing 2 flights, as soon as that first flight goes, it starts reloading. So that could be something to be aware of if you're wanting to keep a lot of missiles on them continuously. Maybe using bigger racks with smaller tubes to keep those missiles going. In that case, I would probably recommend that you use smaller launchers, but that's a valid way to approach it as well. And then we'll shoot our LRM-15, and that is how all the long-range missile systems work. Now there are a couple things that I think are really important to discuss here. I was talking about my targeting reticules. Now, as you can see, as I moved away from him, I lost my lock. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get at a pretty extreme angle to him, because missiles always lock off the arms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to point my chest away from him, and then what we'll do is we'll rotate out to where my arms are pointed all the way over to my right side here. So you can see where my arms are all the way over here. My chest weapons are pretty much pointed at this tree now that's right in front of me, and on the right hand side there's that other tree, and that's where my arm weapons are pointed. Now if I was using direct fire weapons, that's quite a bit of divergence. But with an LRM system, what I can do is I can lock on with my arms. That's the one that controls it. So you see I have a lock now that I've touched him with the targeting reticule for my arms. And the weapon that's currently ready to fire is my LRM-5, and that's in my chest. So what you'll see happen is it'll launch from the chest, and I believe it'll be the left-hand side, and it'll go right to him. There you go. So that's something important to keep in mind with LRMs. And then the other thing that's really important about Inner Sphere LRMs, and this only applies to Inner Sphere LRMs. Clan LRMs do work up close, and when I do clan weapons tests, I'll talk more about it. But for what you need to know about Inner Sphere LRMs is that once you're inside 180 meters, and as you can see, he's 95 meters away from me, I won't do any damage. So we'll shoot him with the LRM-10, and you'll actually probably see missiles bounce off it. Oh, nope, I'm too far away, and it went over his head because he's so short. Let's get a little bit closer, and we'll shoot the LRM-20. Throw him down a little bit. We'll see if we can actually watch him bounce off. There you go. They are bouncing off. So keep that in mind. If you are in an Inner Sphere mech and you have LRMs and they are closer than 180 meters, don't shoot them. They won't do anything. As you can see, they bounce off. So also keep in mind the 180 meter dead zone. If you're fighting somebody with LRMs, if that's all he has, charge him. He won't be able to hurt you. I've seen a lot of players get LRM to death because they've encountered an Inner Sphere BattleMech with LRMs at 100 meters. So we'll simulate that here. And this guy's response, I've seen, let's say my commando's my opponent, what I've seen people do in this situation is the commando starts backing up. Well, that's a bad idea. That actually makes it easier for me to hit him. Because the second I see him, I know about that 180 meter dead zone, so I'm going to be backing up. He backs up. That actually makes it easier for me to hit him. If he were to charge me, he could shoot me with whatever weapons he had available. Commandos tend to carry SRMs and medium lasers, so he's going to tear me up pretty bad and won't be able to respond. That's been a look at how these LRMs work with Artemis. Let's pop out and we'll take a look at SRM systems. If I didn't mention it, LRM stands for Long Range Missile. And the one thing about them I really couldn't show you is that LRMs have a maximum range of 1,000 meters. That's it. Once they go 1,000 meters, they explode harmlessly. I'll be able to show you that when I get to my Griffin. Short-range missiles have a very similar mechanic. It's just shorter range. So we're going to go out to my Griffin, and he's got all the available short-range missile systems for Inner Sphere BattleMechs. And again, we'll talk about the tubes real quick on the model. SRM2, 1, 2, SRM4, there's 4, SRM6, there's 6. So as you can see, his tubes fit all his weapon systems, so I won't get multiple volleys when I fire here. So let's go back out to the testing grounds, and we'll pick on that commando some more. Not that I have anything against the commando, it just happens to be the first guy in front of me. And on these SRMs, I also have the Artemis system. And that it will impact the tightness of the spread when I fire these missiles. So first of all, let's go ahead and target him.
Acquired.
Now he's targeted. What I'm going to do is I'm going to back out past 270 meters. Alrighty, he's out of range of my SRMs. What I'm going to do is get a better view of him so you can see what's going on. I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm going to shoot my SRM2, and you'll see him explode before they get there. See, they exploded midair right in front of him. No, not getting there. This is exactly what LRMs will do when they reach 1,000 meters. It's just really hard to show you that in testing. So keep that in mind about missiles. They don't have that at range extension. If you saw my video on energy weapons, I talked about that a little bit. And when I do one on ballistic weapons, they'll shoot out to twice as far as their listed range, doing less damage along the way. Missile systems just explode. So I'm going to get a little bit closer so we can actually hit them. What's going to happen is I'm going to shoot 2 short-range missiles at him. And with 2, the spread really doesn't matter too much unless you're really far away. Then we'll do the SRM4. And again, spread's real tight, so we're hitting one section. And then the SRM6. Now you can see those kind of spread out. It looks like that one on the left went right into his shoulder, and the other one stayed in his chest. So keep that in mind when you're shooting your short-range missile systems. You can aim them in a general direction, but hitting a specific part with all of them is really hard unless you are completely up on top of them. Now I can probably put them all into his head, which is that center panel of glass right over it. So let's see how many missiles I can get on his head. Oh, looks like one hit his chest, still even that close. So keep that in mind as you're shooting your short-range missiles. It's a cloud of missiles, and they'll kind of go in the general direction that you want them to, but pinpoint aiming is not possible. So that's been a look at the SRM systems with Artemis, their tighter spread. And then we'll pop out, and what I have is another Griffin, and he has an LRM 20 and an SRM 6, and he doesn't have Artemis. So you can see the difference in the spreads on that guy. So back out to the mech lab. We'll filter by medium, and then we'll take a look at the Griffin 1S, I believe. Yep, he's got no Artemis. And again, SRM 6 in his chest here, so 6 tubes. LRM 20 here, and he's got enough tubes to fire all 20. Did specifically choose him to show you how a flight of 20 missiles would come out. So let's go back out to the testing grounds, Forest Colony, and again at the commando. Alrighty, here we go.
Target acquired.
We'll target him, and then we'll get a lock on. Now my LRM 20 is ready to go, and this will fire 20 missiles. Now you can see the spread was quite a bit bigger. There's almost 3 distinct flights going on, so I'll shoot them again. You can see how they're, and it's kind of random as far as how they spread out too, so that is the spread difference there on the LRM 20. And then here is the SRM 6. I'm going to get out a little way so we can see how they spread, and we'll shoot those right at his center torso. And as you can see, I hit both his legs, his right torso, and his center torso. Probably not as important with the SRMs, because if you want to use them up close to brawl, I'll get right on top of him. And I bet you can put most of those SRMs on his chest. Yep. Most of them went to the center torso. You size left torso flash a little bit, but that's how they work when you don't have the Artemis on them. Not a whole lot different, but that spread isn't quite as tight. So the last thing we'll do is we'll go out and look at my Phoenix Griffin, and I have the special weapons for the missile systems for Inner Sphere equipped on him. And what those are Streak SRMs, and Streak SRMs provide a lock-on, and always hit unless there's something in the way, and the NARC missile system. That's just another improvement to your long-range missiles. So as you can see here, we've got an SRM2, 2 tubes. Now the NARC only fires 1, so it looks like his model is set up that 2 is the fewest, so we actually have an extra tube in this case. So this is another example of how the number of missile tubes you have in the missiles don't always line up. So let's go take a look at our Streak and our NARC. So we'll go out for testing rounds again, Forest Colony, and hit OK. I like to use Forest Colony when I'm testing how my weapons fire, because that commando is right in front of you, you don't have to go anywhere, he's right there. If I'm testing heat, I like to go to the Terra Therma map. It's the hottest map in the game, and it gives you a good feel for how your mech can perform on heat. So keep that in mind if you want to test some stuff out. Alrighty, there is our commando. And I'm going to put my Streak and NARC on separate weapon groups and fire them separately. And the first thing we'll talk about is the Streak. So
Target acquired.
And then I touch him again, I'll get a real similar thing to how LRMs work. Now this means my streaks are launched on and I can fire them. So we'll launch those. Now the thing about streaks is they're completely random. They just kind of fly at them and they're going to hit wherever. So I've hit his left torso and right leg. Let's see where the next two go. And left torso, left arm. So keep that in mind. You can't aim these things. They just go. And they go wherever they feel like it. I don't particularly care for the SRM2 streak system because of that. I don't know how many times I've been run down by a mech that I don't know, has a XL engine and his right torso is really bright red, and I can't seem to get those streaks to go into that right torso, and he kills me anyway. So something to be aware of. They will work. They always home in, and they work like the LRMs, where I can get a lock on him using my arms. And as you can see, they're in my chest, and they will still lock on. Let's go to the other side. There. Go to the other side so they cross my body so you can get a good hit at that. There we go. Now these will go across my body this time. What's pretty interesting and or amusing about the SRMs is because of that, they always go to what they're locked onto. I've seen them disobey the laws of physics frequently. It's kind of funny to watch sometimes. And they will miss if there's something in the way, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run around this little rise here and see if I can't get the missiles to hit that instead of him. So if I'm trying to fight him and he ducks behind there and I shoot, oh, they got the hillside. They're trying to get to him, but they'll take the most direct path, and in that case it happens to be the side of that hill, which doesn't hurt him. So just keep that in mind when you're using your streaks. And then the final missile system I want to talk about is the NARC. And what that does is it launches a pod that LRMs will lock onto, and they'll track the target better. So we'll shoot him with an arc. You'll see a little pod come off, and it hit him, and now you see that little dot above his triangle with the curved lines over it. That means there's an arc on him and it's transmitting. Everybody can see this. I can see this. My allied units can see this. And something that's very important to note is that you could see if your allies were narked. They'd have a little symbol like this. If you see somebody who's narked, please tell him. There's no indicator to tell you in game that you are narked. So if I was fighting this commando and I was badly damaged and only had my narc, what I could do is sneak up on him and shoot him with my narc. Oops. How about if I shoot him with my narc? Shoot him with my narc. Now he's narked. I take off. He has no idea I was ever there. And all of a sudden he's got LRMs coming in like crazy and he doesn't understand what's going on. So if you see that symbol on somebody, tell them that they're narked. Lasts a few seconds. We'll stay in here long enough for this to wear off. And pretty much all that happens is that little symbol goes away. And that's the, there we go, it's all gone. And that's the special thing about NARC. When I was putting it on him and I wanted it to go away, it seemed to take forever. if you narc somebody and you want to use that narc, it seems like it doesn't last very long at all. So that's how the narc system works. And there's one more thing about missile systems I did want to share with you. So what we're gonna go out and do is look at my commando, or not my commando, but my Centurion. Which, the commando tool today. Got him on the right. Alright, so we'll go back to the mech lab, and we'll filter by medium again. And then we're gonna go find my Centurion. So here's my Centurion. And we'll click on that. Now what he has, if you look at his mech details, is he's got 3 SRM6s in his left torso. Well, I don't see any tubes. Well, what's going on here is that he has a missile bay door. So we'll back out a little bit here. So you can see the doors right here. And those doors are protecting the missiles from firing. So I'm going to show you how to deal with that in game. So there's the door, and you can't see the missile tubes. Well, what we'll do is we'll launch another match, or another testing ground session, and we'll deal with that missile door. Now I know back when the game first launched that those actually did help protect the missiles. I don't know if that feature's still in the game or not. But here we go. A lot of people will be in a mech like this, and what I'll do is I'll shoot my SRM6s at this commando, and what you'll see is
Target acquired.
I'm gonna fire, and there'll be a short delay. So let's do that. I'm gonna shoot now. Now you saw that my laser went off first, and then my missiles went just a little bit after that. What that is allowing time for the, not allowing time, but what's actually going on is, if you're watching my mech's model, is the doors have to open before the missiles can shoot. Now if you see in the left hand corner of my cockpit, there's a bright yellow light at the end of a blue wire. That indicates the state of my weapon doors. So if I hit the question mark key, it turns green. My doors are open. So let's take those medium lasers off, and what we'll see is those SRMs go right away, and I might kill them. So there you go, they shot right away. So if you're in a mech and you're getting that momentary delay, look around your cockpit. Sometimes it's on the right hand side, sometimes it's on the left hand side, sometimes it's up top, sometimes it's in the middle. But if you're getting that delay, look around for that yellow light. That means you've got a missile bay door and you need to open it. Well, you don't need to, but if you don't, you'll get that short delay. So I'm gonna go pick on the cicada for a while, so I don't get Betty yelling at me about how he killed somebody. So here we go. I'm gonna shoot at him with my SRMs. As you can see, I like to aim low because I get a lot of damage across the
New
legs.
target acquired.
And we'll target him. So you can see I did quite a bit of damage to both his legs. I do like to do that when I'm rolling in this particular Centurion, especially against the light. I can hit both his legs there and remove his best way of outmaneuvering me. And then if I close those doors again, I'm going to fire now. Well, it was almost a second in between when they went off and when they, or when I clicked the button and when they actually fired. So that has been a look at the different missile systems and how they work, and then a look at the bay doors too, so you understand that. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I wish you luck on the battlefield, and I hope to see you there. Thanks.